Hi, good people. Welcome back to our Bali Brahma Consultant blog. So today, as you see, we are in a different place, and this is Carlos and Marcus. Thank you for having us here. And then look, it's a beautiful villa. That's what we're gonna talking about. How Carlos and Marcus find this beautiful villa in the first place. So, Carlos and Marcus, thank you for having me here.
And thank you for coming and having us on your program.
Okay, so can you explain to us how long you've been in Bali at this time?
About 2.5 years now.
Okay,
So
two and
this
a
is
half
the
years.
longest, Yes.
All right. And what do you think? Did you enjoy in the last 2.5 years?
We have those conversations. We have those conversations fairly regularly, and very much. We very much enjoy living.
Yes, there is ups and downs. You know how Bali lives, but we still enjoy it.
Yes.
Okay. So, can you tell us how to get the property in the first place?
Yes, it's been a very tortured process. It was a very long process. We had to fight our desire to get something really fast. We had to step back and say, no, this is going to be a significant investment. So we need to take our time and get it as right as we can get it in the time that we've got.
Yeah.
So we originally saw a number of properties online, as I suppose everyone does. And we thought, well, how are we going to know whether these properties are any good or not?
Yeah.
So originally, and the other thing we had to do is to put aside our confidence as Australians that everything is going to work the same in Indonesia as it does in Australia.
Exactly.
And of course, it does not.
Yeah.
And I know that Indonesians would go to Australia and say, well, everything is different here as well. So it's perfectly fine, but we had to understand that we're not going to wade into Indonesia and do what we do in Australia.
Yeah.
So we assumed that we knew nothing, which turned out to be absolutely correct. We knew nothing. And then take advice from as many different people as possible. But the other thing was that almost all the interested parties have self-interest. So the seller wants to get the best deal, the agent wants to get their money, the owner wants to, make a huge profit and so on.
Yeah.
So we thought, well, how are we going to do this? So the first thing was to find a property. We found in sequence 3 different ones that over time we did not get. The first one, Carlos actually flew up and had a look at.
Yep.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
An inspection. So I met up with the agent.
Yep.
And it was a beautiful property. I actually fell in love with it straight away. And I think that was the one who we got our bid. Yes.
Yes, we're our bid for that one. The next one, we couldn't keep flying backwards and forwards. So we had a friend here who was engaged in building villas with her son.
Yeah.
And so she had some experience, and we asked her to have a look at the property.
Yeah.
She said it was full of damp and there was too much to do. So we backed away from that deal. The third deal we described as having a look at a house that looked like it was built next to the Kardashians in LA. It was marble tiles from one end to the other. It's an absolutely beautiful place, expensive,
beautiful furniture.
But top end. We got a verbal commitment from the owner and the agent that they would sell it to us. We went to South America to visit some family. And while we were over there, they rang and said, oh, no, the other owner that we hadn't been told about wants to sell it to someone else at a longer period for more money. So we lost that one as well. And then on the internet, we found this and we thought, well, this might be the one. But how are we going to do this?
Yeah.
So Carlos again flew up and left a deposit with a local lawyer who we then engaged to represent our interests in the whole process.
Yeah.
Because as I said, with all of the other interests in selling a lease on a house, everyone wants their money, but no one's in it for us.
Correct.
So we engaged a lawyer. And she went through the process or the due diligence and came up with some problems, and we solved those problems. She solved those problems, and then we engaged with the lease.
And at the same time, the second time that I came here, and put the deposit with the lawyer, I gave her the power of attorney for her to work in our behalf.
Yeah.
So we had constant communication with her, backwards and forwards, and she kept us in the loop the whole time.
Because basically the lawyer is work on behalf of you,
she was our
represented
voice in the
yourself.
process.
Absolutely. And only then we sort of tend to relax a little bit because we knew that we were in good hands. We're moving forward.
Yeah. So then, voila, there's a beautiful villa in hand.
Here we are. It was gorgeous, and it's still even gorgeous. I'm in love with this place. Honestly, we now, as I said, 2.5 years, we've made it our own. It's got our signature pretty much everywhere. And I'm the happiest man in the world.
And we were very lucky that although the agent, I would describe him as being very unprofessional, he wanted his money, and that's all he wanted.
Correct.
But the owners who had moved back to Sweden, who had built the house, were very nice people, and they were not out to rip us off.
Yes.
But at the same time, the lawyer found some inconsistencies, which we'll probably go through at a later time, on the lease that we wanted settled before we actually bought the lease long term.
Yes, correct. And then the thing is, when you're leasing the property is you are not physically in Bali to sign the settlement, right? That's why you give your power of attorney to your lawyers. So that's the another suggestion. If you cannot come to Bali, you like the property, but you can't be in here to sign the settlement, that you can give your power of attorney to the person that you trust in Bali to work on behalf of you to sign the settlement. But prior to signing, that you can check the paperwork first, the draft, that the notary will send you English and Bahasa. Then once you're happy with that, then you can say yes, and then the POA in Bali can sign it on behalf of you. And I think that's the process also, same with you.
Yes,
when you're signing.
And that was the easy part. So you can elaborate on this. Then what everybody thinks that is going to be the easiest part is the payment. That turned for us to be the most difficult part.
Nightmare.
Probably another video's worth.
Yes.
How do you pay?
How do you pay while you are not here? Okay, but all good in sending. Yes, I know the difference. Some our client also asking like, should we send in AUD, in Australian dollar, or in IDR? And some of the agent property asking in Australian dollar. But the thing is, on the day on the settlement, they will fight about the rate. As we know, the rate will be different every day.
Correct.
So we always suggest to our client and also the agent on behalf of the seller, make sure you decided the rate that you're gonna use,
Correct.
not the rate. They will say like, oh, today rate is 300, but before it was 9.5. So you cannot do it, because as we know, it's different every day. So the easiest way, doing transaction in IDR, which is Indonesian rupiah, it's better. If you decided to Australian dollar, if you want to, then make the easiest way is agree the exchange rate on the day before settlement. So everybody, both party,
is locked in.
Is correct. Yes.
And know what they're getting.
Okay. Yes. And in a whole 2.5 years, what do you think? Is there any different when the first time you come to Bali and then now 2.5 years, a lot different in the Bali situation?
Oh, sure. Both.
When we first used to come here on holidays, it was twice a year sometimes for 2 weeks only. Then we one time we come here for 3 weeks, and the third week for us was just
we were bored. We
got bored. Really, we just didn't know what to do. We've done all the Bintang shopping, we've done all the chocolates and things like that for friends. There was nothing else to do. But now we look at the calendars and it's like, oh my God, 2.5 years, and we have never been bored.
Yeah, I think the difference is that you have to get yourself out of that headset of it's the holiday destination. Now it's a holiday destination for everyone else around you, which can be somewhat of an inconvenience as well, because people that you meet and really like go home. Yes. After 2 weeks, they're gone. Sometimes you meet them on the last day of their holiday and they fly out the next day.
And if they're family, we become tour guides.
And if we know them, we become tour guides. But at the same time, there's so much to be gained from immersing yourself as much as Europeans or people from overseas can immerse themselves in the local culture and life. There's a whole lot to be gained from that, and we've been to a number of weddings, engagements, funerals of locals, and it's a wonderful experience.
Yes.
So there's all of that aspect that you don't get when you're on holiday that you do get when you live here.
When you live here, that's different, of course. Yeah.
And then there's all of the maintenance that goes with the house. There's the social life that runs along behind all of that as well.
And also for us, friends in here, it's been quite important. We have, in the last 2.5 years, built up a very good group of local friends. And that's important for us to integrate into the community.
Yes.
This year is all about learning Indonesian.
Indonesian lessons this
Next
year.
is Indonesian learning, lesson, bahasa.
Yes, this year.
Good luck.
Sama-sama.
So, and because of mostly our viewers and our clients are retiree, and is there any advice mostly to our people, good people who watching our video, what is the better way when they decided to come to Bali to list the property? Is there any advice from you guys?
We probably did everything all at once, everything everywhere all at once, as the film was called, I think. We actually retired, flew overseas to visit family overseas, then came back and moved up here within a month of one another. It was really a bang, bang, bang situation. And we were still in shock, really, that we didn't have to work anymore at the same time as living in the island of the gods. But
money.
Yeah.
How do we do this?
The big thing about it is we've become aware, obviously, that we can't rely on our income from our jobs to pull ourselves out of problems. The best thing, as that segues back to this segment, where it's worth spending the money to save money, I believe. So we spent a lot of money on the lawyer to represent us in the purchasing process.
Yes.
It was money well spent.
Yeah.
Even though, you think, oh, well, I'm not getting any more bricks and mortar for it. It means the bricks and mortar that you do get, we have some strong confidence that it is what we actually bought. We have it for the length of period that we bought it for. We know that some of the problems that I'll go through in just a moment have been settled, and the dog wants us to play with the ball.
When you find the lawyer, is that when you straight away, that's it, trust, or did you have to find several, then you decided this one that you're going to work with?
We did the due diligence again. We happened to know a couple of people in Bali who'd run a successful business for many years, and this particular lawyer they recommended had represented them in both their business and their visa process. So we went, okay, we trust you. So if you trust her, then we're probably good to go. And it's always here, I think, more important than anywhere else to network. It's a very networky type of place. And as they were the only people on the ground that we knew and trusted at the time, we went with their suggestion, and it was fine. She was good. She was really, really good. And it was lovely to have a voice that represented us in the process, as I've said before. And I believe we believe that she solved a lot of problems.
That's
Absolutely.
good. Yeah. That's good.
And we actually got the lease we wanted. You may have explained in previous videos, or you may explain in later ones, that the real estate industry in Indonesia and particularly Bali is not as straightforward and predictable and as regulated as the Australian market. People will put properties on the market that they don't own. People, because they think that they're going to inherit them in 20 years' time when their father dies, they think that they can put it on the market now. And so we've heard of people that have bought leases that have been sold by people who weren't entitled to sell, and therefore it's illegal and it doesn't stand. So we wanted to make sure that all of those, any issues, any anomalies were sorted out beforehand.
Oh, there you go.
And they were.
And the upside on top of that is that we've been extremely lucky on top of that we live right next door to the owners.
Yeah.
The landowners.
And that is for us is
Yes. And
incredible.
then you get very good relationship with the landowner as
absolutely.
well.
Yeah, we do.
Absolutely.
No, they're lovely people.
They are very, very lovely people. Yeah, we enjoy their company, and they have helped us quite a lot as well.
Yeah.
And if you want to throw this in this one, the sorts of things that we found that were anomalous in the process of things like we bought the lease on 3.5 hour of land. It was broken up into 2 separate leases,
Yes.
3.5.
Yeah.
The half was in the name of a dead person who was not entitled to sell anything because they were dead.
Yeah.
And so what the lawyer had to do is go back to the landowner and said, when your father died, that parcel of land should have been transferred into your name so that you can now represent the sale of the lease.
Yeah.
So he had to transfer that over into the correct name, his name, so that he could sign off. But if we had let and the real estate agent was perfectly happy to let that go through to the notary and say, oh no, that he or she will just sign it off and that will be fine.
Yeah.
We found that there was a difference between. She found that there was a difference between the square meterage of the land that was on the title that we were buying the lease on and the actual property. And that was because the original builders, the original purchasers of the lease had built a wall around the property, but had donated 0.5 metre of land into the gang to allow vehicle access up and down past the property.
Yeah.
Because without it, you couldn't get a car in. So they actually built the wall in, and we actually own the lease on half a metre outside our wall.
Yes.
That there was a difference between the square meterage of the property that was sold to us and the property that was on the plans that was registered with the particular government department.
Yeah.
And we went through a process of trying to explain what that was, and that was the outdoor living area and so on. Yeah. So she sort of tidied it all up so that if we ever on-sell the lease, which of course we're entitled to do, then the whole process will be really, really tight. And all of the due diligence at the other end will happen like that because it's all sorted.
Yes.
It's all fixed.
The thing is, when you want to hand over or over contract to the third party, because you already have your due diligence and you know all your paperwork, your documentation are legit and legal, that's when you hand over to the other third party, and then third party doing their own due diligence and they found out all clear. That's gonna make all the processes smooth.
It speeds up the process. It will speed up the process.
Up, correct? Yes.
Yeah.
So there will be no, waiting time again because they will say, "Oh, all good, all right." When signing, when they transfer the money.
In between us saying we want the property and actually signing off, it probably took 2 months, 6 weeks or 2 months. In which time the people in the background, the agent and the owners, were saying, come on. In fact, there was, and they were threatening to back out of the process.
Yes.
But we were saying, well, look, we need to be absolutely assured because once we sign off on this deal, the ball's in our lap. Like we are going to wear anything that goes wrong.
Correct.
If there's an anomaly found when we on-sell the lease, well, that's going to not impact the real estate agent who sold it to us. It's not going to impact the people who sold it to us. It'll be us.
Exactly.
We'll wear this. So we wanted to be as calm as we could about making sure that we understood everything.
The signage only took about half an hour because we had to sign everything twice in English and in Indonesian.
Bahasa, yes.
But it was quite exciting. I mean, compared to when we bought properties in Australia, it's a remote the two process. It was a lot longer.
Yeah.
And it's a very remote process. You sign the papers, but then it all happens at the lands office.
Yes.
And you're just rung up and told, oh, the property is now yours. Whereas with us, we sat there facing people and went.
And we have a settlement
here we go.
At that particular time, that from that time, a minute later, you own it.
Yeah. Correct.
Interesting.
Interesting process.
Yes. And exciting.
Exciting.
Good.
Yeah.
Interesting, bad.
And then that's become part of your life experience, buying or purchasing property in Indonesia.
Mm.
So you see the difference in your country and also Indonesia.
We were talking, Monica, we were talking a couple of days ago, if we had the opportunity to buy something, to do the same process while we're here, into something a little bigger or something like that, would we do it? And the answer was straight away, yeah.
Yeah, we would do it now.
Now that we know the process
Now.
and we
Yes.
know how it's done,
Yes.
with the help of the right people, it's a very good, easy, scary, but very exciting at the end. So if you are thinking of doing it, do it.
And,
Yes.
and the overarching thing that's in my head when we consented to this interview was that idea that you just need to ask. You just keep engaging with people who may know or be able to help you. Don't believe that you understand how it all works, because based on our experience in Australia, it does not work anything like that here. And it wouldn't operate in the same way in Sweden, and it wouldn't operate in the same way in Lithuania. It's a very different process. And to walk in and just think, oh, I've got all this by the tail. Ask, engage, pay people who know what they're doing to do what they know what they're doing.
In this case, an agent.
In this case, an agent, a lawyer, someone that represents you in a process, because your best interests are not necessarily represented or legally protected.
Correct. True.
As they are in Australia and other places around the world.
So the thing is, the most important, if you decided to move to Bali for good, give yourself some time to looking for the property. It doesn't mean that you straight away you're taking for like long term, like 5-10 years, because you're probably gonna change that time when you live there, and then you find another places in the other area that you're gonna fall in love with, and then this one that you already take for 10 years is gonna be not using. But the thing is, you still can over contract to other party if you find the paperwork all good and you do it in a legal way, that you allow your legal lease to be over contract to the third party. So give yourself some time. Don't rush. Don't make decision by rushing, and take it easy, because Indonesian is all about time. So, very interesting interview today with Carlos and Marcus today, and thank you so much, guys, to allow us to interview you too.
You're very welcome,
about your beautiful property and then how to get the property in the first place. So thank you very much, and thank you for these beautiful places that we allowed to doing our video today. So guys, keep watching us. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and send us more questions and queries, and we will be happy to assist you. So thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.